Once upon a time in a bustling seaside town, there lived a young woman named Sophia, born into a family that spoke only her native tongue. She had long harbored a dream of mastering English. From an early age, stories of distant lands and vibrant conversations in cafes filled her imagination. Yet each time she tried to speak, her words came out halting, her confidence faltered, and she retreated into silence. Determined to change her fate, Sophia set sail on an adventure not across the ocean, but into the world of English fluency. On the first day of her quest, Sophia enrolled in an evening English class at the local community center. She entered the room with her notebook clasped tightly, heart pounding like a drum. The teacher, Mr. Carter, greeted her with a warm smile. "Welcome," he said. "Your journey has begun." But when the first conversation exercise arrived, Sophia's mind froze. Simple phrases that she knew in theory, "How are you?" "What's your name?" became tangled knots in her throat. She managed a whisper of a greeting, only to feel every eye turn toward her trembling lips. That night, back in her small apartment overlooking the harbor, Sophia wept. She wondered if her dream was too big, if her voice would ever be heard. Then she remembered the saying she'd once read on a travel poster. "A ship in harbor is safe, but that is not what ships are built for." With renewed resolve, she picked up her pen and wrote at the top of her page, "I will speak English fluently." This single sentence became her daily mantra. The next morning, Sophia devised a routine. Each day on her 2-mile walk to work, she listened to an English podcast called Morning Breeze. At first, she understood only fragments, the occasional word like coffee, sunrise, or neighbor. But she persisted. On subsequent walks, she slowed the playback speed to half, repeating each phrase aloud as she walked. This technique, called shadowing, felt awkward, like singing karaoke without music, but it trained her ear and tongue to move in unison. At her tiny kitchen table that evening, Sophia began keeping a word journal. Whenever she encountered a new word, whether on the bus, in a television show, or during her podcast, she jotted it down with 3 columns: the English word, its translation, and an example sentence. After a week, she had filled 5 pages with words like delightful, hesitate, and subtle. Every night, she reviewed 10 of them, speaking each sentence aloud. By the end of the month, she found herself accidentally using these words in casual conversation with her coworkers. One chilly autumn afternoon, Sophia met her neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, in the stairwell. Summoning her courage, she greeted her in English. "Good afternoon, Mrs. Thompson. How are you today?" To her surprise, the older woman responded with genuine delight and launched into a short story about her grandson's baseball game. Sophia listened intently, nodding and smiling, even if she missed a word here or there. When the story ended, she attempted to ask a question. Did he enjoy playing first base? A small triumph, but a triumph nonetheless. Inspired by this success, Sophia sought a language exchange partner online. She found Alex, a university student from Oregon, eager to learn her native language in exchange for English. They met twice a week over video chat. Their sessions began with casual catch-ups, news of classes, favorite recipes, weekend plans. Gradually, Alex challenged Sophia to speak only in English for 15 minutes at a time, correcting her grammar gently and praising her pronunciation when she got it right. Through laughter, occasional misunderstandings, and mutual encouragement, both began to notice significant improvement. At home, Sophia embraced self-talk. While doing chores, washing dishes, folding laundry, cooking dinner, she narrated her actions in English. Now I'm drying the plate. I will put it on the shelf. At first it felt silly, but over time it became natural. She found that thinking through her day in English sharpened her ability to form sentences without pausing to translate in her head. Before falling asleep, she recounted her day in English as well, highlighting 3 good things that happened. Much like a nightly journal practice, weekends became dedicated to immersive experiences. She visited the local cinema to watch films in English, starting with subtitles in her language, then switching to English subtitles, and finally turning them off altogether. She joined a weekly conversation club at the library, where people practiced debating book excerpts, discussing travel stories, or simply sharing jokes in English. Each meeting was a safe playground, where mistakes were met with nods of understanding and friendly corrections rather than judgment. One evening, during an impromptu karaoke session at a friend's birthday party, Sophia faced a moment of truth. The microphone felt like a torchlight shining on her insecurities. The track began, a catchy pop song she had practiced. She hesitated, heart hammering. But then she remembered all the mornings of shadowing, the podcasts, the word journal, the smiles of Mrs. Thompson, and the encouraging nods of Alex. She took a deep breath and sang every line clearly. When the applause echoed through the room, her confidence soared higher than any melody. Still, progress was never linear. On a rainy Wednesday, Sophia stumbled through an important work presentation. Her voice wavered. She fumbled key vocabulary and had to resort to her notes. Afterward, self-doubt crept back. That night, instead of berating herself, she reflected, "This is part of the process." She reviewed her presentation, identified the troublesome words, and incorporated them into her shadowing sessions and word journal. She set a personal rule. Every mistake was an opportunity to learn, not a verdict on her worth. As winter melted into spring, Sophia's fluency blossomed. She started volunteering at the town's cultural center, helping the staff prepare newsletters in English. She even co-hosted a radio segment sharing language learning tips, weaving in anecdotes from her own journey. Speaking into the airwaves, she discovered the true joy of her mastery. Not perfection, but the ability to connect, to inspire others, and to share ideas effortlessly. One bright morning, Sophia boarded a bus bound for London for her first solo trip abroad. Her heart thrummed with excitement. In the airport cafe, she ordered coffee and a croissant in flawless English. On the tube, she navigated ticket machines and chatted with fellow travelers about sightseeing recommendations. Each interaction felt like a testament to her dedication. The countless hours of listening, speaking, reading, and writing that had built this moment. In London's bustling streets, Sophia encountered a lost tourist struggling with a map. She approached him with confidence. "Do you need some help finding the British Museum?" He looked relieved and asked a few follow-up questions, which she answered with ease. Guiding him through directions, she realized that fluency was not just about grammar or accent. It was about empathy, clarity, and courage to step forward. The smile on the tourist's face mirrored the pride swelling in her own chest. After her trip, Sophia returned home to find Mr. Carter waiting at her favorite cafe. Over steaming mugs of tea, they perused recordings of her earlier speaking exercises side by side with recent audio clips from her radio segment. The difference was astounding, her intonation smooth, her vocabulary rich, her confidence unwavering. "You've done the work," Mr. Carter said, voice thick with emotion. "You speak not just English but connection. You listen, you respond, you bridge worlds. That is true fluency." Later that year, Sophia walked into a job interview for her dream position as a communications specialist at an international nonprofit. When the director asked, "Why do you want this role?" she responded in crisp, articulate English, weaving in anecdotes about her own journey, her volunteer work, and her vision for global understanding. The panel nodded, impressed not only by her skills but by the passion and authenticity she brought to every sentence. As she left the building, an email notification pinged on her phone. "Congratulations! Welcome aboard." At that moment, Sophia realized that her story was more than a personal triumph. It was a beacon for anyone who dared to learn, to stumble, and to persevere. She penned a final entry in her word journal. Only this time it wasn't new vocabulary, but a simple reflection. Fluency is a journey of the heart as much as the mind. If you too wish to speak English fluently, remember Sophia's path. Set a clear goal. Write it down and revisit it daily. Build listening habits. Use podcasts, movies, and music to tune your ear. Practice shadowing. Repeat phrases immediately to train your mouth. Keep a word journal. Record new words and use them in sentences. Engage in real conversations. Find language partners in clubs. Embrace self-talk. Narrate your day in English to think directly in the language. Use mistakes as lessons. Reflect, adjust, and move forward. Immerse whenever possible. Travel, volunteer, or even change your device settings to English. Celebrate small wins. Every word spoken is progress. Stay curious and compassionate. Language is connection. Each conversation is a bridge. May your own journey be filled with discovery, resilience, and the sweet sound of your voice finding its truest expression. Just as the ship leaves harbor to meet the horizon, so too can you embark toward English fluency. One word, one sentence, one story at a time. Jihoon pushed his coffee cup toward the center of the round table at Cafe Mama's in Myeongdong. Across from him, Min-seo flipped through a worn guidebook to New York City, as Sang-woo, perched on a high stool, traced the skyline illustration with his finger. "Can you believe we're really doing this?" Jihoon asked, eyes shining. "In 2 months, we'll be standing under the Brooklyn Bridge." Min-seo closed the book with a decisive snap. "I've been budgeting down to the last one. Every cup of coffee I skipped this month went into our travel fund." She winked at Sang-woo. "And you said you'd handle the itinerary." Sang-woo grinned. "Don't worry. I've mapped out every block of Manhattan from Central Park to Wall Street. We're hitting it all. Art museums, jazz clubs, that famous pizza place in Brooklyn. And maybe one day in the vineyards north of the city." Jihoon laughed. "Brooklyn pizza first, vineyards later. Priorities." 2 months later, the trio found themselves aboard Korean Air Flight 621, watching the coastline of Japan recede into the clouds. Tired from a sleepless night packing and checking backpacks 3 times, their excitement was tempered by nerves. Min-seo pressed her earphones in. "I downloaded an audiobook version of The Great Gatsby. It feels right, New York in the Jazz Age, but we're in real time." Sang-woo tapped his screen. "Subway maps, restaurant reviews, Broadway ticket apps. I even found a food vlog by a fellow Korean who tours the best dollar slice spots." Jihoon reclined. "You're turning this into a business trip. I'm just here to see the lights of Times Square in person." The flight attendant's voice crackled over the intercom. "We'll be beginning our descent into New York in approximately 30 minutes. We hope you enjoy your stay." Min-seo clasped Jihoon's arm. 30 minutes until reality. They breezed through JFK's automated passport control and emerged into the cavernous arrival hall, bleary-eyed but electrified by the buzz of travelers from every corner of the globe. The air smelled of coffee and the faint tang of city traffic. "Okay," Jihoon said, hefting his backpack. "First mission, MetroCard. Second, coffee. Third, hostel." They followed Sang-woo's directions to the AirTran, then to the E-train into Manhattan. As the subway rattled and swayed, Min-seo pressed her forehead to the window. "It's so loud," she murmured, "but I kind of love it." "Welcome to New York," Sangwoo said, nudging her. "Chaos and charm in a single train car." Passing through Lower East Side, the graffiti-peppered walls and fragrant street carts made Minseo's eyes widen. Ji-hoon counted each station, ready to leap off at Canal Street. By late afternoon they reached their hostel in Greenwich Village, a converted brownstone with narrow stairs and bunk beds. After dumping their bags, they stepped out into the orange glow of sunset spilling over cobblestone streets. "Jazz bar," Sangwoo suggested, already heading east. "It's only 5 o'clock, Ji-hoon protested. "But, okay, why not?" They slipped into a small brick-walled club where a trio on stage coaxed warm saxophone notes through the dim light. Minseo sipped her Americano, nodding along to the beat. Ji-hoon tapped his foot, and Sangwoo closed his eyes, letting the music wash over him. When the set ended, they spilled out onto Bleecker Street, music still ringing in their ears. "Tonight's going to be amazing," Minseo said, glancing at the glowing neon signs. "I can almost taste the pizza." The next morning, dawn found them in Central Park. A jogger in neon streaked past Ji-hoon as Sangwoo and Minseo stood by Bow Bridge, smartphone in hand. "I want to rent a rowboat," Minseo declared. "Let's pretend we're in a period film." Ji-hoon laughed. "I can swim. If you both tip us, I'll save us from drowning." They rented the boat for 20 minutes and drifted under the bridge, watching joggers and dog walkers trace winding paths. The reflections of skyscrapers rippled alongside them, and for a moment the three friends floated in silent wonder. By midday they alighted at the Metropolitan Museum's marble steps. Sangwoo insisted on passing the gift shop first to buy postcards, then guided them through galleries of ancient Egypt and European masters. Minseo paused before Van Gogh's Starry Night. "Incredible that someone painted this with his own hands," she whispered. "In his village in France." Ji-hoon studied a sculpture. "Think about the stories behind each piece. Like us, they traveled just in different ways." They debated which exhibit to see next, Impressionism or the modern wing, before settling on both. In the cafe, they shared a slice of New York cheesecake, rich and creamy. "Worth every calorie," Sangwoo announced, licking crumbs from his fingers. Late afternoon brought them to Times Square's neon vortex. Giant screens flickered advertisements for musicals and soda brands. Tourists in oversized souvenir hats jostled past costumed characters. Minseo tugged at Ji-hoon's sleeve. "Look, the naked cowboy." Ji-hoon rolled his eyes. "He's fully clothed, Minseo. But his guitar is, well, yes." They posed for pictures, dodging traffic, then ducked into a halal cart for chicken and rice platters. The hot sauce dripped down Sangwoo's chin. "Oh," he muttered between bites. This is 100% New York right here. Mincio pulled out her camera. Document everything. Over lunch, they discussed tickets for a Broadway show. Hamilton was sold out for days, but The Lion King had seats tomorrow night. I've never seen a Broadway show, Ji-hoon admitted. This might be my chance. Sang-woo scrolled his phone. 3 front balcony seats for $95 each. Should we? Mincio nodded. Yes. Let's splurge. That evening they strolled over the pedestrian walkway of the Brooklyn Bridge, the skyline ablaze behind them. Under a sky streaked with clouds, they paused halfway to stare at Lower Manhattan's gleaming towers reflected in the East River. Imagine living there, Ji-hoon said. Working in a glass box 20 floors up. Mincio leaned on the railing. I feel alive. Free. Sang-woo pulled out 3 shipping tags. To commemorate our trip, I made these keychains. Brooklyn Bridge, Central Park, Statue of Liberty. For our backpacks. Ji-hoon opened his palm to reveal a silver bridge silhouette. Perfect. They laughed as the wind tugged at their scarves, and they leaned into the cold, savoring the moment. The next day, Staten Island ferry tickets were free. They boarded just before sunrise, the deck cold and misty. Mincio trembled. I didn't think it would be this chilly, she said, wrapping her arms around herself. Ji-hoon shrugged off his jacket. Here. We're mine for now. She wrapped it around her shoulders, grateful. As the boat cleared Battery Park, the Statue of Liberty emerged from the fog, its torch a beacon in the gray light. They stood arm in arm, 3 tiny figures against the colossal monument. Sang-woo whispered, "That right there is freedom." Mincio felt tears prick her eyes. And hope. Their final day arrived too quickly. They had brunch at a Korean-Mexican fusion spot in Queens, kimchi tacos and bulgogi burritos, and laughed at the culinary mashup. Then they made one last pilgrimage to the High Line, the elevated park built on a former railway. Wildflowers peeked through metal grates, and tourists snapped photos of graffiti art sculptures. Ji-hoon sat on a bench overlooking the Hudson. I thought I'd miss home so much. But this feels like home too. Mincio nodded. There's beauty in every corner, even in the unexpected. Sang-woo strolled to the edge. We came to see New York, but we also came to see ourselves. We're braver now. They stayed until dusk, letting the city lights blur into a golden haze. Then they returned to the hostel, packed their bags, and shared a final cup of instant coffee brewed in the common room. On the flight home, Mincio dozed against the window, headphones dangling. Ji-hoon flipped through the postcards Sang-woo had mailed from Times Square. Sang-woo scribbled in a small notebook. I'm going to write about this trip, he said softly. Turn it into an article. Ji-hoon smiled. Publish it. I want others to feel what we felt. Mincio stretched and yawned. I'll illustrate it with photos. The Airbus lifted into the sky, and as the lights of New York shrank beneath them, the three friends pressed their foreheads together, eyes closed and full of memories. Jihoon whispered, "To New York until next time." Mincio and Sangwoo echoed softly, "Until next time." Outside the window, the city whispered goodbye, all its promise packed into tiny glints of light. And for Jihoon, Mincio, and Sangwoo, travelers from South Korea, the world had grown immeasurably larger, richer, and more wondrous than they had ever imagined.